Good afternoon. Today I'm down about $85 in the account, and I took three trades today. One of them was a loss, and two of them were wins. Um, Starting right off, I was kind of disappointed with my performance this morning, and my performance and my executions, just in the fact that when I came into market, I didn't really look at the higher time frame and was just going in with the assumption that we were going to continue lower. Um, and that caused me to be married to my bias because what I neglected to take into account was this daily fair value gap that we were touching into that was in discount of this price leg. And I did not look for that, and I just assumed, hey, we've been bearish, looks like we're gonna stay bearish, and chose not to go to a higher time frame, and that caused me to take a loss this morning that I was not able to make up. And if I would have just taken the time to follow my system and check through all my time frames, I probably would not have made that mistake. But with that being said, getting into the day, like I said, I automatically came in bearish, but what I had failed to see, and that I had seen after I had taken this trade, was that we had swept some major sell side, and had also, like I had said, tapped into a daily fair value gap that was in discount of this swing, or of this price leg. So coming into the morning, let's run back to time, and I'll just show my execution for here. So my one execution for this morning was right here, and it was about 10 minutes after open. Um, well, so we had data highs right here, and a big thing is that these data highs can be a really strong buy side liquidity draw. And the only trade I would have taken in here would have been along to these data highs, and there were a few entries here to get up to these data highs. But then after that, we just started trending up, and I figured, hey, we swept the data highs, we're continuing to sweep highs, and I'm bearish. And I just kind of took the next displacement kind of 2022 model that I had seen. And I mean, you can see that that did not work out. It was never even in profit, and scaling to a higher time frame would have shown me that, hey, we we are bouncing out of a daily fair value gap in discount. There's a really strong chance we have a bullish reaction, and we are continuing up. And then 10 o'clock comes around, and we end up inversing a little 4 hour fair value gap here. But I was not too concerned about that because I didn't think that this inversion was going to mean anything significant for the long run. And we did come back through, and we are most likely going to inverse it. But we did end up holding a 2 hour fair value gap, and I ended up trading micros the rest of the day, which we will go to. And I wanted to see this 2 hour fair value gap hold, and the body's never even closed inside of it. But moving over to micros, this is where some of the work started to get done, and I was actually able to employ some of what I had learned. So this is where we were looking in price. Going over to 30-minute, we had some highs resting in here, and those highs those highs were just very plain Jane clear sitting out buy side, and that's what I had wanted. And I was figuring we could still go up, take that buy side, and still hold this 2 hour fair value gap. But we got really close, but we did not sweep it. So coming into the 1 minute, I use standard deviation today from this high to this low of the manipulation leg. And a big draw is the 2 to 2.5. And if I click into this and I extend the lines over to the right, you can see, oh, let's go back out. Price stayed within, it just came up, ticked the 2.5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and then continued to fall. So our buy side did not get hit, but looking at this trade, I had scaled into a lot of positions here. I will just show my executions, and I decided, hey, I just took a $425 loss. I am going to be trading micros. And if I see something good, I can scale into it. So here is what we were looking at. This price leg right here is a 5-minute fair value gap, and this is equilibrium of that 5-minute fair value gap, and I wanted price to get down there, and I would have just taken a limit order 2 micros right there, but it did not get down to that. But we did start to void a 1-minute fair value gap. We inversed it. I entered when it came back down, or I entered here, 3, I had 5 there, 6, I had 7, and I had 8. So before this buy side was hit, or this internal buy side, I had 8 micros going, entering on this 1-minute inversion, as well as equilibrium of this whole leg. That's what this line is here. Let me get rid of these standard deviation lines. So 1-minute inversion, entering a few times in here, seeing that we're holding equilibrium, coming down, touching the order block or breaker block, and then moving up, we create a 1-minute order block. I get in on the top of that order block, run right up to buy side. I get rid of 5 there, so I think I have 3 contracts. We continue to mess around. I buy one more here. Price goes up. It hits the 2.5 standard dev, and I get out of 3 contracts there, and then we create a 1-minute for, we are holding, also to notice, we are holding this 1-minute for value gap 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and we create a new bullish 1-minute for value gap, so I long out of there. My stop is at break even right at this 1-minute for value gap, which I didn't like, but we do end up just melting right through it. And as you can see, this was a short that I had taken. Let me see where my fill was, right there. So this was a short that I had taken, but I did elect to get out of it because I did not want to stay in it, and I was kind of already feeling mentally done with my trading day, but I felt pretty confident that the short was going to work, but I just didn't want to risk any more capital. So I decided to get out, and I think what was that? 2 contracts, got out 1 and got out another here, but this ended up being a nice 2022 model short, and price just ended up selling off to much lower, but partial, all the way down to terminus down here, which is where I expect price to continue to go down to our manipulation for a terminus to continue lower. But looking at this trade, let me move my executions. Price is bouncing off 2.5 standard deviation, and it is rejecting that. And then price eventually, get these macros off of here, price eventually starts to break down. And we have a market structure shift right here and right here. Those are both market structure shifts. And we have swept buy side liquidity. We are also inside of a 2-hour fair value gap right here. The overall bias is lower. And we get our displacement market structure shift. And we don't really get a solid return to a fair value gap, but there was some entries you could have taken in here, and here we have one. Highs do get swept there, and then some more displacement down. So not a ton of entries on there unless maybe you took this 1 minute inverse up here, but very nice 2022 model short. But got married to my bias this morning, and that caused me to lose money and take one of my biggest losses. But I'm okay with that because it taught me a lesson, and I was able to not revenge trade and do the smart thing and move down to micros and make some of my money back. But that's all I got for you guys today. Have a good weekend.